Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
And today we're talking about Joker. Released in 2019, directed by Todd Phillips, written by Todd Phillips and Scott Silver, and starring Joaquin Phoenix, Robert De Niro, Zazie Beetz, Francis Conroy, Brett Cullen, Shea Whigham, and Bill Camp. This was released after Justice League and Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and was released actually after Ben Affleck stepped down from the role of Batman. But this was Warner Brothers kind of saying, you know what? We're not going to try to do exactly what Marvel's doing and do everything is in the same universe. We're going to have some movies that aren't connected and whatnot, and decided to do a origin story of Gotham's most notorious villain, the Joker. Which, by the way, I am wearing my Joker shirt, which you can see for people watching the video. It also has Cesar Romero and Jack Nicholson on it, but you can't see that. But I thought it was appropriate for the episode today.
And I'm wearing Johnny Cash.
Very nice.
In tribute to Joaquin Phoenix, even though it's not actually Joaquin Phoenix's Walk the Line. It's a picture of actual Johnny Cash. But
I like where you're going with it. I like that. Yeah. So this was, when this movie was first announced, I remember it was going to be, I don't know if it was going to be a Martin Scorsese movie or if he was just going to produce it. But I remember Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese were like attached as, maybe just as producers. But I remember being like, what? Because it just seemed like Martin Scorsese doing a comic book movie seemed crazy to me. And I'm looking in here, he is not listed as a producer, so I think he eventually stepped down from it or handed it off or something. Bradley Cooper is a producer on it, though, which is interesting. But Bradley Cooper was in the Hangover movies, which Todd Phillips also directed. So they obviously are maybe producing partners. I don't know.
Very different movies.
Yes, very different movies. Todd Phillips is primarily known for comedies, really. He did Road Trip. He did the Hangover movies. I'm trying to think of he did War Dogs. That was kind of still had some comedy.
I've seen War Dogs,
moments to it, but it was a little bit more of a drama. So it was kind of that was maybe more of his transitional film to this type of movie. But I remember when Todd Phillips got attached to the movie, I remember thinking, I wasn't like super pumped about it or anything. Todd Phillips, I thought, had done decent comedies, although The Hangover 2 and The Hangover 3 are not nearly as good as Hangover 1. And aside from Hangover 1, maybe, I hadn't really seen anything of his that I was just really wowed by. So I didn't know what to expect with him as the director. I don't remember feeling like that they were going to go comedic with it. And I don't remember if he was attached before Joaquin was attached. I forget. But once Joaquin Phoenix, signed on, and then, of course, like Robert De Niro got signed on, I was like, okay, interesting. And then once we saw, I think, the first teaser trailer, I got pretty excited about this movie, actually, because it looked darker than I was expecting. It looked more kind of realistic than I was expecting. And I just liked the tone that the teaser trailer kind of set out. The only thing that I wasn't super sold on right away was the makeup. Mm-hmm. Was the Joker face.
I remember the teaser for me was, I couldn't really decide.
Yeah.
Like you said, it was definitely darker than I was expecting. And makeup wise, I wasn't big on it, but I remember thinking it's not Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
It's better than that. So, but I think after I watched the teaser, it didn't do a whole lot for me.
Right. I got pretty excited about it. In fact, if I recall correctly, I watched the teaser, and it was kind of like what I did with Man of Steel, and I thought, I don't need to see anything else. And I didn't watch any of the other trailers for the movie until after I saw the movie. And I'm glad I did that, because there's a couple of things in the... Usually, I'm usually glad that I do that when I do that, because there are things in the subsequent trailers that come out that aren't necessarily spoilers, if you will, but like there are times where I'm like, I'm glad I didn't see that beforehand, because it surprised me in the film. And I'm trying to remember what that was for this movie. It might have been... I know there was something. I'd have to go back and watch the trailer, but I know there was something in the final trailer, or the first full trailer that came out, where I was like, I'm glad that was kind of a surprise in the movie. And I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was the Wall Street guys on the train, or if it was something else, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying. There was it maybe Bruce?
I think Bruce was in the teaser. I remember seeing him doing the mouth thing to Bruce through the bars.
That's right.
But I don't know. Like I said, I can't remember. I should have watched the trailer before starting the episode. But anyway, I know that I avoided the trailers, which was hard. But I avoided the trailers when they came out, because the teaser trailer just did it for me, and I really wanted to see the movie after the teaser trailer. And it was my initial reaction was I actually really, really liked it. I thought that it was slower than I was expecting, and he was not Joker in it for as long as I was expecting. It's essentially the last 15, 20 minutes of the movie or something.
Right. Maybe not even that long.
Maybe not even that, yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw this twice in the theater. I saw it once with my wife, and then a coworker of mine was going to go see it, and I was like, I'll go see it again, and enjoyed it just as much the second time. But I hadn't seen it since then, when I decided when I sat down to watch it for this. So this was your first time seeing it, though, right?
Yes.
What were your initial thoughts? Question.
Okay.
I know you said you weren't completely sold on the teaser.
Yeah.
So did you not want to see this movie?
I was not feeling like I haven't watched Joker yet. I need to get on that. Yeah, that was not happening.
Right.
But I was curious to see it.
Yeah.
My initial thoughts. It was. So I'd heard people's reactions, and I think it was accepted pretty well by...
It was, actually. I forgot to mention this, but it was nominated for 11 Oscars. It won only 2 of them, but it was nominated for Best Actor, Best Director, Best Picture, Best Writing.
Really?
Yeah, Best Original Score. It won for Best Actor. Joaquin Phoenix won, and Best Original Score.
So people playing the Joker have now won 2 Oscars.
Correct. Yes.
That is insane.
Yep. And it's a little bit of a cheat, because
right
before Joaquin Phoenix won, the only people who had won an Oscar for playing the same character was Marlon Brando and Robert De Niro. Marlon Brando won it for Don Corleone in The Godfather, and then Robert De Niro won it for playing Don Corleone in The Godfather Part 2. Now, the only difference here is Heath Ledger played the Joker, yes, in The Dark Knight, and Joaquin Phoenix is playing the Joker, but it's not the same. It's not really the same character as the Joker from The Dark Knight. So there's got to be like a kind of an asterisk, I feel like.
Well, I disagree, because it's still the Joker from Batman.
It is still the Joker in Gotham City.
Yes. From
Batman. It's just not the exact same as what Heath Ledger was playing. But yes, you're right. So I mean, it still technically counts. Now there have been 4 actors who have won Oscars. Now,
I will say this too.
2 instances, I should say, of actors. Yeah.
I think it's pretty likely that Heath Ledger probably wouldn't have won. had the tragedy not
right.
happened.
Yeah, and we'll never know, obviously.
Right.
Personally, I think he did such a good job. I like to think that he would
I
have.
agree. I think he deserved it, definitely.
Right. However, based off of Academy history, they usually just didn't nominate people for superhero films and whatnot. You know what I mean? But I think he had done such a phenomenal job that I hope that he would have at least gotten nominated for it that year, and hopefully he would have won.
Right.
But I do think, they were swayed a little bit more probably to vote for him because of the tragedy. I agree.
I think, I think there's a better chance. Like, he probably had a decent chance of at least getting nominated.
Right.
But yeah. Anyway, so I was saying that this movie was accepted. Definitely was liked by the audiences. I liked it. It was a good movie. I liked it better than I would have than I expected to had I not heard that it was a decent movie after seeing the teaser. And I liked it maybe about the same, if not a little bit more than I was expecting after hearing the reaction.
That's good, because I was a little worried that stuff gets overhyped.
Right.
You hear how great this movie is, and you hear it for so long, and when you finally get around to watching it, you go, "Really?"
Yeah. I don't think I heard that it was, great. Like to the overhyping,
That's good.
degree. But I did hear it was, a really good movie. So
yeah.
I think it kind of leveled out.
Yeah, I really like it, and it is dark, and it's it's obviously R-rated, and there's a lot of things that are in it that you don't normally see in a Batman film, I guess, even though it's not really a Batman movie. But
right.
But yeah, I really Joaquin Phoenix, I thought, did an amazing job. I thought he really deserved the Oscar for it.
I agree.
I liked Robert De Niro's character. I like Francis Conroy. I like a lot of it. There's so much about the movie that I actually really do enjoy.
Now, I will say this as far as Joaquin Phoenix's performance. I thought his performance of Arthur was fantastic.
Yeah.
I wasn't that sold and thrilled about his portrayal of when he becomes Joker. Yeah.
Well, that was something I was going to bring up, was that, aside from Jack Nicholson, so I guess even excluding Cesar Romero, I guess, the only big screen Jokers we've had, just people who've done theatrical films, are Cesar Romero from the Adam West Batman movie, Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, Jared Leto, and now Joaquin Phoenix. And so Jack Nicholson doesn't really do a Joker voice. He's really just kind of doing Jack Nicholson but turned up. He's it's Jack Nicholson but kind of
with high energy.
Right, high energy Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger obviously did put on a voice, and it's perfect, and I love it. And then Jared Leto did it, and we'll save our talk on Jared Leto's portrayal whenever we talk about the Suicide Squad. But then Joaquin Phoenix, he doesn't do any sort of voice, which I think might have been weird if he had. But he's very much just still Joaquin Phoenix. He's Arthur Fleck with makeup on, essentially.
Right. Well, sort of. I think he's more of an Arthur Fleck, kind of like Jack Nicholson, where he's
a little higher energy.
Yeah, he's a bit turned up.
Yeah. And I think part of that is he is higher energy, but it's also, I think it's his character not caring anymore, It's his character deciding to just be who he is, rather than trying to impress people or whatever, and because he's quieter. He's not necessarily afraid to talk to people, but, he's afraid of, like, confrontation a little bit in the beginning, like when the lady on the bus tells him, will you stop bothering my kid?
Right.
And so now it's more, he doesn't care as much, and so, but yeah, it's still very much Joaquin Phoenix's voice, though, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think of it as there's rumors about possibly getting a sequel to this, and part of me kind of hopes that they don't do that.
I agree,
because to me this is very much an origin story, and I like to think that it's, even with the makeup and the whole Murray Franklin show, all that stuff at the end, I still feel like it's him becoming Joker. He's not, even when he's on that show and everything, he's not quite Joker yet, even though he is referred to as Joker and everything.
Right.
So like, that's, he's got the red suit on, the red nose. Like, I still feel like it's him kind of almost figuring it out still. I think the shot, I was going to save this for the end, but I feel like the shot where he looks the most like the Joker, and you could even say it's him becoming the Joker, is when he's standing on that cop car at the end, and he gets the blood from his mouth, and he smears it into the smile.
Right.
Like that, the bloody smile, his kind of faded makeup and everything, that looked like the Joker to me. Like that, to me, was like, that was him becoming the Joker right there, basically.
Right.
By
the way, did you notice during that scene, he's being taken to jail and there's all the riots and stuff going on, but traffic is just moving like normal?
Yeah, no problem.
There's no problem.
Well, they're all rioting on the sidewalk.
But yeah, just traffic on the road is just going like normal. There's like five or six cars driving behind him, and
I'd never picked up on that, but that is really funny. All the riots were kind enough to stay to the sidewalk and not bother traffic,
and no one's worried. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, we need to go to the grocery store. Let's just go through the riot."
Right? Yeah. No, there's a riot here. I mean, it is Gotham City, so
very true.
But that's another thing I liked about this movie was it was not only, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but it was not only just the birth of Joker. It was kind of the birth of Gotham becoming this corrupted place that needs Batman in the future. When it starts off, it is kind of a dirty, grimy city, and there's like a trash strike going on, so there's trash piling up on all the street corners and everything. But then at the end, with the riots and all that stuff, I feel like eventually, it's kind of leading to that whole crime-ridden has taken over. Maybe at this point, maybe the cops realize that they can't do their job as well as they would like, so some of them start becoming corrupt and whatnot. I just feel like it's also the birth of Gotham City as
that's
the Gotham City that needs Batman.
I didn't think of that. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
Another thing that I kind of felt while I was watching this was, and something I've been kind of trying to put my finger on for a long time, is I've always felt like, the Joker was on the same level of importance as a character as Batman in the Batman universe. Like, he's the only superhero character, in my opinion, that is equal to the superhero as far as importance goes. And this is a movie technically without Batman. It's a Joker movie, and I've always wondered. We've had Batman movies without the Joker. What would is Joker big enough to where you could make a movie without Batman, and how would that be? And we got it, and I felt like, as cool as it was to have the main character, the Joker, I felt like not having Batman in it did have a little bit of a void.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was kind of like, Batman, I've always kind of even thought maybe Batman, the Joker, overtakes Batman.
Right.
But this kind of made me rethink that and be like, Joker kind of needs Batman.
Yeah. I agree. And I think Batman doesn't necessarily need Joker because he has that rogues gallery of villains. So as long as he has one of those villains. But at the same time, when you have a movie that has Batman in it, and you don't have the Joker, you've got one of those other villains. It's still very much enjoyable and everything, but you always think, like Batman Begins, for example, right? This is another movie we haven't talked about yet, but Batman Begins has some great villains in it. You've got Ra's/Ra's al Ghul. I think Ra's al Ghul is the proper pronunciation.
Yeah, I've always said Ra's.
Yeah, they call him Ra's in the movie. You've got Ra's al Ghul and you've got Scarecrow, which are really cool villains. Very cool, but like when you saw that card at the end of the movie where they flip it and it says Joker, I mean that got everybody pumped.
Yeah.
And so Joker, is the Batman villain. I would argue that you could, in terms of, I agree with what you said. You know, it's like Joker's kind of that flip side of the coin with Batman. He's up there in terms of not just like importance, but like he's iconic. You know, when you think of Batman, you also think of Joker.
Right.
And I don't think the only other person I can think of that kind of fits that, in my opinion, is Lex Luthor in Superman. However, it's like every movie up until Man of Steel and whatnot. It was like every Superman movie that came out had Lex Luthor as the villain. Right. It was like, we just want to see somebody else now. And that's almost how I felt with Man of Steel. You know, when we had Zod, it was like, okay, we've already gotten a movie. And granted, it was in the 80s. It was in the 70s, or yeah.
Wasn't it?
Well,
Superman
the first one
2?
was first. Yeah, he was a villain in Superman 2. You did see him in Superman 1.
That's right.
But he was the villain in Superman 2, and I can't remember what year that came out. If it
might
80.
have been 80.
Yeah. So it had been 30 years, but I still am kind of longing to see a Superman movie with a villain other than Zod or Lex Luthor.
Right.
But anyway, but I agree with you. And one of the things, they took some liberties, obviously. There is no, as far as I know, true origin story of the Joker. He's always been kind of alias unknown type of thing. There's the Killing Joke, which had an origin story for him, but I don't think that is canon. I don't think. But anyway, they took some liberties, I thought, with this movie, and one of the liberties they took was making Joker this. I don't know how old he's supposed to be in the movie, but Joaquin Phoenix, I believe, is in his 40s.
Right.
And Bruce Wayne is 12. You know,
right.
I don't know how old he is. So by the time Bruce Wayne grows up and gets trained and becomes Batman, Joker could be like 60.
Right.
So that I thought was a little weird.
Yeah, I thought of that too.
It doesn't bother me too much. It doesn't take away from my enjoyment of the film, but it is kind of there in the back of my mind, especially the scene where he goes and he's going to try to see Thomas Wayne, but he sees Bruce and has that little talk with Bruce and everything. There's the age difference is just almost too much, in my opinion. I know that they couldn't have done the story that they were wanting to do without Thomas Wayne if they had started the movie after the Wayne murders, but the age difference would have made more sense if, like, Bruce Wayne kind of do the Batman Begins thing where Bruce Wayne is missing, presumed dead type of thing, because he's out there who knows where training to be Batman, and the Waynes are already dead. But then there's a huge chunk of the movie with Penny and Thomas Wayne, which I want to talk about that. When the first time I watched the movie and he reads the letter that Penny wrote to Thomas Wayne and it says, "Your son and I need you," or something like that.
Right.
I remember going, no, because I did not want them to take that liberty. I did not want Bruce Wayne and Joker to be half brothers. You know what I mean? I was like, don't go there. That I just don't like that. I could see somebody thinking that was cool because it was like they're arch nemesis, but they have this connection and they'll never know about it. You know, that type of thing. But I don't like it. And so it was.
I agree.
Yeah. It was interesting to me to then see that, like, she had been in the mental hospital and was delusional and making up memories and thinking that he was Thomas Wayne's son. But the movie kind of also, it's a little ambiguous. Like, I like to think that Thomas Wayne is not Joker's father, and she did adopt him.
Right, I do too. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't officially go into if that was actually the case.
Because
like you've got the because they show the news clips, the newspaper clippings of adopted blah 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 blah, but it also gives you the idea that they're like, well, Thomas paid him off because
right, and she says that she was like, that's the story we came up with or something like that, and the doctor's like, no, but then after Arthur has killed his mom in the hospital, and he's painting his face, he holds up a photo of his mother, and on the back it says, it's like signed by Thomas Wayne. Well, we assume it's Thomas Wayne. It says, "Love your smile, TW." So it is also hinted at that maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe there was this affair / relationship with Thomas Wayne. But again, I don't like the idea of them being half brothers. So I like to think that Thomas Wayne was telling the truth and that he was adopted. He never, had a relationship with her and whatnot. That's just me.
But also really, taints, if you go that route, it really taints the character of Thomas Wayne.
Well, I feel like they, again, made Thomas Wayne, that's another thing they kind of changed. They made Thomas Wayne a little bit of a jerk in this movie.
Yeah, they did. He's like a political, money-hungry.
Yeah, and he even, like, one of the things he says on TV where it's like, I can't remember the exact line, but he basically says, like, poor people will always seem like clowns to the to us, to the wealthy, or something like that. And you're just kind of like, dang.
Right.
Like, that's a little harsh. And then, I don't think that he punches Joaquin Phoenix in the face for laughing because he doesn't know about his condition. But at the same time, Joaquin Phoenix did put his hands on his son. So I don't feel like it's completely unjustified.
Right.
The punch in that scene. But they did make Thomas Wayne not the stand-up doctor, hero of the city that he's kind of portrayed in other forms of or other adaptations of the story and whatnot. Like, I think about the Thomas Wayne again from Batman Begins and how he's very caring, and he built that elevated train system in Gotham and all this stuff, and he's considered a humanitarian and all this stuff, and that's not the Thomas Wayne we see in this movie.
Right. Yeah, I prefer the humanitarian Thomas Wayne.
But again, let's jump to the very end.
Okay.
So you see Joker sitting in the hospital after the riots and everything, and he's talking to a psychiatrist, and he's laughing, and she says, "What's so funny?" And he goes, "I was thinking of a joke." And she asks him what it is, and he goes, "You wouldn't get it."
Mm-hmm.
There is speculation that the entire movie took place in his head, and that he had been in the hospital the whole time, and maybe he heard, because when he says he was thinking of a joke, it cuts to Bruce Wayne in the alley, with his parents just having been shot. That's the image you see there for a moment. And then he says, "You wouldn't get it." And so I wonder if he had heard about the murder, or maybe the murder did happen. Maybe there isn't such an age gap. The murder did happen a while ago, and he was just thinking about it. It's an interesting...
Yeah.
It's an interesting theory.
Because you have the whole thing of, he does have that condition where he can have that flawed reality in his head. By the way, if you remember, that's my idea for a movie.
Is it? I don't remember.
You don't remember that? Oh my gosh, man, I was so mad. Like, I've been waiting for them to do it for a long time.
Right.
And there have been a couple of movies that I thought they were doing that with, but I did not imagine that it'd be Joker. Yeah, like, basically, there's a character in the movie that is someone's wife in my idea, and then like 3/4 of the movie through, she's like walking down the street with another guy, and the husband thinks that he found her cheating, and he like confronts her, and she doesn't recognize him, and he has this mental condition where he sees someone and creates like a lifetime of memories with them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was I was pretty upset when I saw that they took my idea, but whatever, you know.
That has happened to me so many times that I know it's just coincidence and whatnot.
Right.
But I can't help but think sometimes, like, am I on the Truman Show? Like,
I've done it. The beginning of Lost, I
Right.
almost had that to a T.
Oh, really?
Of this guy waking up in the middle of the woods, and like a dog came,
Right.
and it was a different situation how he got there, but it was, and there were a lot of and the like fog monster.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, the smoke
and that
monster.
was part of the same story that I was gonna have with
Wow.
the guy waking up. It wasn't gonna be a fog monster, but it was gonna be this, and it even almost sounded the same, because I was like, the sound is gonna be this far off, distant sound of, it's gonna sound like someone dragging like, you know, metal across the ground, and you would just have no idea, and you'd see like trees like falling, it was crazy, man. Like. And
It makes you kind of paranoid. You're like, I don't know if I want to talk to, like, I don't want to, next time I have an idea, I don't want to say it out loud.
right. I've done that. I have done that.
The biggest one that happened to me, and it was so fast, there was no way it could have been, like stolen, you know? Plus it already existed. It was already a comic book. But like this happened years and years ago. I was driving to work, and all of a sudden I had this idea about like 1930s gangsters and an alien invasion. So it was like the idea that I had in my brain was like 1930s gangsters, like Tommy guns versus like alien ray guns. You know what I was thinking? Like gangsters versus aliens was essentially what it was. And I still like the idea, and I still might write it as a script or a movie or a book or something. But I think it was the next day I got to work. I had been so excited about it for like a full day. I had been writing stuff down and everything. I was like, this is so great. And I went onto like a movie news website, and I read about Jon Favreau was now going to direct a movie called Cowboys and Aliens. And I was like, come on. Like it just seemed so similar to what I had in mind.
Yeah.
Just this like being in the past and having an alien invasion happen in like the past.
Right.
But seeing the movie was not really very much what I had in my brain. So
Right.
I still feel like I could write it and it'd be different enough. But it's just it's so disheartening when you think you have like this great original idea, and then you either see something that is that idea or find out somebody's already got an idea like that or something. I don't know. But I have read that, you know, you should never let that deter you from doing what that, you know, like from fleshing that idea out and writing it or shooting it or whatever. I read something that M. Night Shyamalan got really disappointed. I don't know if he had started writing The Sixth Sense, but he had the idea for The Sixth Sense. And then he found out that Casper the Friendly Ghost was being made, and he like was super disappointed that there was this movie about ghosts, I guess, coming out, and he was like, I can't do this movie anymore, even though The Sixth Sense is so far completely different than what Casper was. Still, he almost didn't write The Sixth Sense because Casper the Friendly Ghost, it wasn't called Casper the Friendly Ghost,
Right.
It was just called Casper, but Casper was coming out, and he thought that it was too similar to his idea that nobody was going to want to make The Sixth Sense.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's a good example of, you know, you should always write, even if you think your idea's been stolen or been copied or somebody had a similar idea.
Of course, you know, like someone out there has come up with or thought of ideas that I have. But
I'm sure somebody's probably even written a story about gangsters and aliens. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But for it to go into, and just the idea was, if it was done right, you know, like I can see how it got out there in a mainstream movie. But it's the Joker.
Right.
Everyone saw that. So
yeah, that's true. That is true.
And I've had that idea for probably since right after I got out of high school. So I've had,
Wow.
it's been like 15 years that I've had that idea, and I guess that's the punishment for putting it off.
Closer to 20 years there, John.
God.
It'll be my 20th.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
20th graduation anniversary, whatever you want to call it.
Next year.
Next year.
Yeah, mine's the year after that.
But so anyway, I watching the movie this time with that in mind, like thinking about how is this all taking place in his head?
Right.
There's a couple of things I feel like that help that case, or that theory, or whatever you want to call it. And then there are some things that kind of hurt it. But one of the things that really helped it, in my opinion, was like seeing how easily he snuck into the theater to talk.
Yeah, I thought
I
thought of that too. It's like, I actually watched this with my daughter and the oldest son, and she was like, "Why did they just leave the door unlocked?"
Yeah, and like he just ducks under like I don't know what you call those things, a police barrier.
Right.
Just ducks under it. Nobody's on the other side. There's no cops over there. I know that they shows the cops getting into kind of a little bit of a
right. So they're
fight
distracted.
They're distracted, but still, you'd think there'd be somebody over there guarding that door or something, and he just easily walks in. Very easily finds an usher outfit to put on.
Right.
So that's one of those things where you're like, maybe this is happening in his head. But then you think about the bad stuff that happens to him, like he's getting punched in the face by Thomas Wayne and whatnot. But maybe that's just him coming up with ways to
make it more real
to him. Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't think about the whole thing of it being in his head, and I think that's actually very likely, especially with what they did with his girlfriend.
Right. Yeah, that's another thing that kind of helps the case, I think, is that he frequently does fantasize.
Right.
You know, the whole thing of him being on the Murray Franklin show in the beginning and being called down and him saying, "I'd give this all away if I had a kid like you." You know, that's yeah. So it's very possible that he is, and you know, in the very beginning of the movie too, he's talking to his social worker, and they say something about him being in the hospital or having been in the hospital.
That's right.
It shows him banging his head against the wall in the hospital.
That's right.
It's possible he's just been in the hospital the whole time, and he's maybe even while he's talking to this woman, he's fantasizing about what could have been or what, you know, who knows.
Yeah, I like that concept.
Yeah, and it seems like a jokery thing to do too, you know, just to kind of him to have these weird fantasies and laugh about it, you know.
Right.
And then
I really liked his laugh, by the way.
I think he's got like 3 different laughs in this movie. He's got the one he can't control.
Right.
He's got the fake laugh.
Right.
That he does.
And I think that might have been my favorite.
Yeah, it's the more kind of jokerish laugh, the high-pitched kind of thing. And he does that, it seems like, in situations where he's supposed to laugh.
Right.
But he doesn't actually find it funny. And a good scene with that is when he's at the comedy club and everybody's laughing at the jokes and he's never laughing with them, and then the stand-up comic will say something and he does the laugh but nobody else is laughing.
The first time I picked up on it was someone made a joke when in the dressing room for the clowns.
Yeah.
And he was walking back, and I think
it just cuts off.
I think it was the first time he did it. Yeah, he does the laugh, and then it cuts off, and he's like,
straight-faced.
Dead. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And then he's got his actual genuine laugh, which you don't hear very often, I don't think. But it also sounds different than the other laughs.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that's one of the things I thought was really cool about it. And I do like his fake high-pitched laugh. That was cool. And it was jokery.
Yeah. But unique, you know, like
it didn't sound like, you know, it didn't sound like Heath Ledger's laugh or anything like that. I think that's the hardest part about whoever plays the Joker, you know, going forward. I mean, it would have been, even for Joaquin Phoenix, I imagine it was difficult, or even Jared Leto, like knowing you've got Jack Nicholson's portrayal and Heath Ledger's amazing portrayal. Like, what do you do to stand out, to make it different? And I think, Jared Leto is different, but it's maybe stands out for another reason. But Joaquin Phoenix, I thought, did a really great job. Without his performance, I don't think this movie would have been nearly as good. I still think it would have been. I mean, the tone of the movie, the visuals of the movie, the story of the movie, it's all great, but Joaquin Phoenix really brings it to another level, in my opinion. Like you said, it's almost unfair to say that his portrayal of Joker isn't quite as good, because I feel like the whole thing, like I said, is really Arthur. The whole movie is Arthur Fleck, which, by the way, Arthur Fleck, Affleck. Like, you think that was a coincidence?
Yeah.
Or do you think that was okay?
I do.
I always thought that was weird. That Arthur Fleck is Affleck. But anyway,
yeah, I agree. I like I said, I definitely liked his portrayal of Arthur Fleck.
Yeah.
The movie obviously has a very artistic feel to it, indie feel that I like. But I'm also, like you said, it's kind of, Warner Brothers kind of established that it's kind of its own thing, not in the universe. And
right.
I'm glad that they're not making it the
Connected.
Standard universe that they're building off of.
Yeah, and I think it can be confusing, especially for audiences who are used to Marvel and the way Marvel has been doing things, where every movie is connected and every movie is part of the universe. But I like that they're kind of doing it. I like that they are, Affleck has stepped down from role. I've seen online rumors. I don't believe any of them, but I've seen online rumors that he might be coming back for like an HBO Max thing or something. I don't believe it.
I don't either.
But I like that they're gonna they've got Wonder Woman 1984 coming out eventually. That movie was supposed to come out back in June, and I haven't seen it yet. With the whole COVID-19 thing, so hopefully we'll see it in 2020, but who knows? But I like that they're doing Wonder Woman 1984. They're gonna do an Aquaman 2 with Jason Momoa, but now we've got Robert Pattinson as Batman, and that's gonna be like a separate thing,
right?
Hopefully they're gonna do Shazam 2. And I'm hoping,
really?
Yeah,
interesting.
They've got Black Adam. I think I read somewhere Black Adam's going to start shooting at the end of this year in Georgia.
Was Black Adam in Shazam?
He wasn't, no.
And it's not going to be Dwayne Johnson, is it?
It is going to be Dwayne Johnson.
It is?
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah, it's good casting.
I had heard forever ago that Dwayne Johnson was going to be Black Adam, and then I thought he backed out of it.
I don't think so. I believe he's still attached to it.
Well, I mean, I believe you. Because I really don't keep up with that stuff like I used to. But when I heard he was Black Adam, and I like Dwayne Johnson, but I think when I heard that, I was excited. For some reason, it just fit.
Yeah.
I was like, that just makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And to hear that he is, that makes me super excited.
Yeah, me too. And I hope it's really good. And they're going to do a Flash standalone movie, supposedly. That's another one that has gone through many different directors and has been postponed,
That's scary.
However many times. The current director on it is, I might be mispronouncing his name wrong, but it's Andy Muschietti or something like that, who directed It and It Chapter 2. And Michael Keaton may be in it, because it's going to be this whole Flashpoint thing. So I don't know if they're going to, have like a multi...
Bruce Wayne?
Yeah, he's going to be playing Bruce Wayne / Batman. Yeah. And supposedly, the rumor again is it's going to be him in costume. It's going to be him.
I thought he was going to be in a television show.
Michael Keaton?
Yeah.
I think it's the Flash movie.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's going to be it's opening the door to this whole multiverse thing. So it's like these movies, the Robert Pattinson Batman and this Joker movie could be, different universe.
Can you imagine if they made a movie
Elseworlds.
where Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck,
Robert Pattinson,
Val Kilmer, and unfortunately George Clooney.
Right.
Just kidding. No, not really. But
and Christian Bale. You gotta have Christian Bale in there.
Of course. See, that's what's so strange. Like I put the Dark Knight movies kind of separate, but yeah, you're right. And Christian Bale, and just have them all standing on top of a building, like side by side.
That would be amazing.
It'd be very hard to do in a serious manner.
Yes, it would be, and I don't think I can't imagine George Clooney would ever agree to get back into a Batman costume.
I would be okay with that.
Val Kilmer, unfortunately, probably wouldn't do it either, because I don't know if you've seen Val Kilmer recently, but he had throat cancer. And so,
I've seen it, but wasn't he he was going to be in a movie?
He's in the new Top Gun.
That's right.
But I don't know if you've heard him speak. It's crazy. His
was
voice.
He a smoker?
He might have been, but I don't know. But he had throat cancer, and I'm not going to try to imitate what he sounds like. Just YouTube Val Kilmer, and you'll see him lately, and he's it's sad. I mean, it's a little sad, that I think his acting career is basically over because he can't speak as well as he used to be able to and everything. So I don't know what his part in Top Gun Maverick will be like playing Iceman, but yeah, that was
he was a good Batman.
I liked him too, and
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I remember, I don't know if I said this on the Batman Forever episode, but I remember when Batman Forever came out, Bob Kane was still alive, and he said Val Kilmer was probably the closest to what he imagined Bruce Wayne and Batman to looking like, and I thought that was kind of cool. And I Batman Forever, I think, is taking Batman in the wrong direction, but I think it's still an enjoyable movie, and I think Val Kilmer does a great job. Does as good of a job as he can in that movie, in that kind of
I agree.
Style and whatnot. But I thought, it would be interesting to go back in time and see Val Kilmer in a darker, more serious take on Batman. I think that would have been really cool. But anyway, so it's my whole point to that was I like that Warner Brothers is taking a different route than Marvel and saying we've got these Elseworld stories, these movies that don't necessarily take place in this main universe we have, which who knows, I don't really understand what's happening with the main universe now, because I doubt we're going to get a Justice League 2. And if we do, they'll either have to recast Batman or not have Batman in it, which would be weird to have Justice League with no Batman.
And Ben Affleck did such an amazing job.
Right, I agree. And I'm still pumped to see the Snyder cut, if you will, of Justice League, just to see more of Ben Affleck as Batman, really. But yeah, and it's still up in the air if we're ever going to get Man of Steel 2. Henry Cavill is supposedly done as Superman. Who knows, So I'm looking forward to DC's upcoming movies, but who knows it's not gonna be like Marvel. And I think they're done with that. They're done trying to recreate the magic that Marvel had, and they're just trying to do their own thing, put out solid movies, which I think is the best idea.
Yeah.
So hopefully everything will be good. So let's talk about, we've talked about like kind of the style of the movie, the cinematography I think is really good. It reminds me of, and I think this is what they were going for, it reminds me of kind of 1970s Scorsese, Taxi Driver. And it feels kind of similar to that movie just in terms of cinematography and tone, I guess. And I like that. I think it's really cool.
Well, like you said, Martin Scorsese was
originally a producer and everything.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. But I want to talk about the score, the musical score. What did you think of the score?
I'm trying to remember it.
There's nothing that there's no big theme in it that's like you could I couldn't hum any of the music for you, but it's a very, in my opinion, kind of haunting score.
Yeah, I think I remember that. I can't hear it in my head, but I remember it was kind of like somber and just very kind of like, just those depressing artistic movies that were coming out, like Eternal Sunshine and just that kind of style of Punch Drunk Love and
right. Yeah, interesting. You named 2 John Bryan scores. The same guy did the score for both of those movies. It's a dark score. It's got that creepy kind of atmosphere and everything. But I'm not going to get her name right. She's an Icelandic, I guess, according to IMDb, she was born in Iceland. Composer named Hildur Guðnadóttir, maybe? I don't know. But she won the Oscar for Best Original Score, and she's the first female composer, I believe, to win the Oscar for Best Original Score, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, really good score. I bought the soundtrack, or the score, I think right after seeing the movie the first time, because I thought it was really good. Mm-hmm. It's not something I could listen to all the time, but it is something I listen to occasionally when I'm writing. Because it is just kind of that. Like I said, it doesn't have it's not like Avengers music that's like real,
right,
actiony and energetic. It's just kind of that creepy, atmospheric type of music that it's kind of nice to have in the background while especially if you're writing a dark scene or something.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely can see how that would benefit.
Mm-hmm. So, speaking of music, what did you think of the choice to play that song? I don't remember the name of the song, but it's that song you always hear at sports, like basketball games or something. But that's the song that is playing when he's finally put on the Joker makeup and he's walking out of his apartment and then he starts dancing on the stairs.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the song is too, but I remember thinking, obviously that's the most famous scene.
Yeah, in the movie.
And I liked it. I thought it was. I was worried it might be a little goofy before I saw it. And when I saw it, it was.
Well, when I first saw the movie, I thought that's an interesting song choice to use for this. So yeah, I was like, I don't. At first, I was kind of like, I think I was a little on the. I didn't necessarily agree with the song choice, but then just seeing him on the steps and dancing to it and stuff, I was like, okay, it works.
Yeah,
it actually really works. Yeah, and that's a great scene, him dancing on the steps, and then I love the cops looking at him like, what? Because they don't hear the music, obviously, and I just imagine Arthur's hearing the music in his head, probably.
Of course he is. I mean, does he just go dance to?
Right. Yeah. So I like that a lot. They're just like, this guy's crazy, and then they call his name, and he just bolts. I'm trying to think, we could talk about other performances, but I feel like everybody in the movie's not really in the movie. Arthur is in every scene. He's the star.
That's a good point. He is in every scene. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't feel like we'd have much to say about the other characters as much. We did talk about Thomas Wayne a little bit, but yeah, what's your favorite scene in the movie? Is it the stairs?
It's probably when he shoots Murray, actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that's my favorite scene is him. The whole from him coming out and talking to Murray.
Like I said, though, his talk to Murray, I wasn't a huge fan of.
Gotcha. But
the decision in the story to have him pull out the gun and shoot him, it's just that got me, and I was like,
especially too because they set it up as.
That he was going to do the joke.
He shoot himself. Yeah.
Well, right. I didn't think when I saw that I wasn't thinking that he was actually going to shoot himself.
I didn't either, but that's what they're kind of setting it up as, because he's practicing in his house, which I love that scene too. Him practicing on his couch with an empty chair, talking to Murray, and he says knock knock, and then he pretends to shoot himself in the head.
Yeah, and I just for whatever reason watching that, I just thought he was going to put his finger up to his on television and pretend to shoot himself, and then lay there and expect But no, I guess you're right. He was going to kill himself on live television, and that is way more interesting. I just didn't think that. I thought he was just going to expect to get a laugh from pretending to shoot himself with his fingers. But yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, the fact that he pulled what?
Oh, he was practicing with his gun, and when he was on the couch, he pretended to shoot himself in the head and lie there dead. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay, he was using his gun. Well, regardless, I just figured he was pretending to that was the joke.
That was going to be the joke. Was he pretends to kill himself?
Yes. Right. And then obviously when he pulls it out and shoots Murray, that was just it was a very impactful moment. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think that was probably, it's gruesome to say that's my favorite scene, but
yeah, but it's one of the most,
it's kind of like in, I don't know if we'll ever talk about this, I can't imagine we would, but spoiler alert for the movie The Mist.
Oh yeah. If you haven't seen The Mist, you should skip forward 30 seconds.
I'll be quick. The movie at the end where, he kills his son.
Everybody in the car.
Yeah. That is incredible.
Right.
And sad, but that's my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I actually love the ending to The Mist. And
yeah, it's amazing.
And I know a lot of people don't like the ending to The Mist, but yeah, and Stephen King actually likes the ending to The Mist. He says
it's different than the book, right?
It is different than the book. The book ends...
Don't tell me because I have it and I want to read it.
Okay, I won't tell you how the book ends. But it's different than the ending of the book. And Stephen King has said that he wishes he had come up with the ending that they had in the movie.
Yeah. So yeah, it was just phenomenal.
Right, I agree with you. If you want us to hear us do an episode on The Mist, let us know, even though we basically just told you what our favorite scene is. My second favorite scene, I don't know, actually, the whole thing where I was talking about him smearing the blood on his face and standing on the cop car with all the people riding around him, I really like that scene a lot too. That and the Murray television show scene might be kind of a tie for my favorite. Uh-huh. And then my second favorite scene, again, it's just the visuals of it, is him dancing in the bathroom after he's killed those Wall Street guys. I like that too, just him being all freaked out because he just killed these guys, but then kind of being okay with it. And I love how when he's at Arkham trying to get the records of his mom, him basically confessing to that guy, and he was like, I did something bad, and he goes, and I thought it would bother me, but you know what? It hasn't. I thought that was kind of funny too. I liked him in that scene too. Going back to, I just looked at my notes and I forgot to mention one thing. So again, talking about how the movie might be all in his head. Another thing that stood out to me while watching the movie was after Thomas Wayne punches him, Thomas Wayne walks out and says, if you ever touch my kid again, I'll kill you. He goes and he leans on the sink. And then the movie cuts, and you see him in his apartment. And he takes all the stuff out of the fridge and then crawls into the fridge, if you remember that scene.
Yeah.
Well, when it cuts, he's leaning on the counter in his apartment in the exact same position that he was leaning on the sink. And I feel like that was another... To me, that's just another thing that says this might be all happening in his head. He might have been... Even if he wasn't it... Or maybe if he's not in the hospital, he might have even just been in his house that whole time,
right?
Imagining that scene with Thomas Wayne going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and that's another aspect of it that I like because we never know. one of the things I love about Joker as a character is you never know what he's going to do. He's very unpredictable. You never know if he's going to kill you or if he's just going to shoot you with a gun that has the little bang flag on it. You know what I mean? That's kind of the whole thing about him is he's so unpredictable. So I like the idea that you never really know what's real and what's not, perhaps, in this movie, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the concept of that, definitely.
Yeah. I think it's pretty neat. And if you go that route, if you go the route that he's in the hospital and this whole movie is taking place in his head, it's possible his name's not even Arthur Fleck. You know what I mean? Which is another thing that I kind of like, because I like the idea of Joker. You don't know who Joker actually is and everything, you know?
Agreed.
So
yeah, when I first heard his name, I was like, we got a name now.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, I it's a good movie. I like it a lot. So, I guess with that being said, what would you rate it?
I give it 3.5 out of 5 stars.
3.5. I was gonna originally say 4, but the more we've talked about it, I feel like the more I kind of like it, and I'm leaning towards 4.5. I think actually. Yeah.
Wow,
which is pretty high for me. I mean, I've got used to be I would give things 5 stars all the time. You know, if I saw it and it wowed me, I'd give it 5 stars. And I feel like now I'm trying to be a little bit less, or a little bit more strict about what I give a 5-star rating.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards 4.5. Maybe it's 4.25. I don't know, but I do like it a lot. I think it's really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I enjoyed it more than I was expecting to. I will say
That's good.
That. Yeah.
That's good. I was worried because I know you are. I don't know. I know with Jared Leto you were very against Jared Leto's look and whatnot, and I thought you were not super sold, like you had said, on Joaquin Phoenix.
To me, it was too traditional clown looking.
Right, I agree. We've never seen Joker with the blue around his eye or the red on his nose.
Right, but he like I was okay with it because it still represented the Joker.
Right.
To a pretty good degree. So I would have changed, looking, now watching the movie, I wouldn't change it for the way they have it, but when it first was revealed, yeah, I was like, probably it's not exactly what I would have thought, but it's closer to being what I like than not, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I agree with that too. And it's one of those things, the first time I saw it, I thought, I didn't love it either, but I liked it, but I didn't love it. And I thought, well, maybe that's the early, that's what he'll put on first before he becomes the actual Joker,
Right.
Which is still kind of what we talked about. Like maybe after the whole riot and everything, he goes on and kind of finds the look that he's going for. I don't know. I've also heard people think that he's not the actual Joker, that he like inspires the real Joker later on, which I don't like that theory because I don't know. It just seems I don't like the idea of Joker copying somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that works for me, but
by the way, how did all of the rioters that wear the masks, there wasn't a picture of Joker when he did the murders, right?
No, there wasn't. It was just it just said clown.
Yeah, so everyone has these masks that are like identical,
the exact same.
Yeah. To the makeup. I was like,
Yeah, that's just well, it either is all in his head, and so that was him imagining it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it actually would kind of make sense. Again, I think it wasn't a theory that I was totally sold on before we started talking about it, but now that we've talked about it and kind of pointed things out, I feel like it has some merit, I guess you could say.
I don't think we've stumbled across anything that discredits it.
Right, makes you go, oh, I guess this couldn't happen because of this. Yeah, that's true. I don't either. So, real quick before we end, what did you think of the guy that played Alfred? What'd you think of that presentation of
I liked him.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah.
Although I will say, like, I feel like Alfred would do a better job of defending himself, but I said maybe it was he had a hard time, getting Joker's hands or Arthur's hands off of him because of the bars being there. But it was like Arthur reached and grabbed him, and Alfred couldn't really unhand him, I guess
I'm
you
not
could say.
sure exactly what Alfred was doing at the front gate at the time.
Well, that was the other thing that I thought was weird, was that it looked like Bruce was playing on a playground. Why would you put the playground right at the front of the property, like by the gates where anybody could walk up?
Right.
But again, maybe it's all in Joker's head. So
I like how that's the explanation for like problems is
everything, yeah.
It's not
maybe
real.
It's in his head. Right. So, but I did have that thought watching it. It didn't occur to me watching it in the theaters, but watching it the other day, I was like, why is like Bruce's playground thing right at the front of the like by the main gate?
Yeah.
It just seemed weird to me, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think it was a convenience thing, unless
yeah,
it had to have been. Even if it was in Joker's head, I don't think they'd be like, well, let's put the playground by the front gate because it's in Joker's head.
Right? Yeah.
So,
and what was Alfred doing? Why was he so distracted for long enough that Joker was able to
right? And then all of a sudden he's
so
right there, and
yeah,
hey,
Bruce. Yeah. Well, we'd love to know what you think about Joker. You can always leave us a comment on our website, www.cinemaheroes.com. You can comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/SM and SM Podcast. This video is on YouTube, of course, and so you can comment on the video. And if you watch the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We'd love that. We'd appreciate it. And you can also, of course, tweet at us at Cinema Heroes on Twitter. I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.